Is this thing on? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a special Ravens post-game show. Yeah, I know it's about an hour later, but guess what? News broke. John Wall got traded. We'll talk about that later because I know Kyle is a Wizards fan. So I can't wait to hear his takes on that. And spoiler alert, we didn't even talk about it yet, so it's going to be raw and authentic. But the big news: Ravens fall to those Steelers 14-19. Yeah, I know I said it backwards, but I'm a Ravens fan. This is a Ravens post-game show. What's up, Mark? Checking in. Kyle, the game was a lot closer than what a lot of people thought it would be. You know, the Ravens, they went out there. They put forth their best foot, you know. They started the game. Yeah, they had a 3-and-out, but then the defense had a 3-and-out. And watching the game, I thought that if the defense could just get a play, if the defense could have scored, then just maybe they could have won this game. Your thoughts?
So I did go back and watch the game because, like I said to everybody, I was like, I'm not. I know that's terrible to say as a person that used to cover the Ravens and still lives in the area, but like I just didn't watch the game initially. But when I did go back and watch, bits and pieces, I think that the defense, this is the same old story with the defense where they, they'll hold on to him for a really long time. The offense gives you something good. Finally, they have been playing bad the whole game, and the defense folded. So, I look at the Ravens and I'm like, at least they show a heart today. They played a great Steelers team. Like, let's call it what it is. Like, I know some people are like, the Steelers team isn't the best of an 11-0 team.
That was actually trended too.
Which I agree with that. Like, but at the same time, that this team's still great. Whatever way you want to shake it, they're 11-0, so they found ways to win through adversity. So you got to call them a great team if they're undefeated. Like at this point in the season, and I know the Ravens had a lot of guys out, and the fact that they showed that kind of fight against this, vaunted Steelers team, I think that, we got to give them some credit for that. But I still think, ultimately, it makes you want to strangle Steve Saunders, right? Because like he got everybody sick, and I don't understand how. Like, yes, you could punish him and you could say all these things about, but look, he put people's lives in danger. It's as simple as that, and he should be reprimanded to the highest extent, if not completely. If I'm the Ravens, I'm getting rid of him personally. That's just me. So,
yeah, I agree. We gotta understand that COVID-19 is not nothing to play with. Your lives, people's lives are at stake. People can't continue to think, oh, it's not that serious. Yes, we've seen a lot of athletes test positive for it since March, right? We're starting with Rudy Gobert, and just, it was like a string of athletes. Fortunately, and correct me if I'm wrong, no superstar has died, let alone been in the hospital for it. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen to the next superstar. You know what I mean?
Right.
The Last Dance revealed that the Jordan flu game was really probably stomach poisoning from the pizza,
right?
And I can remember
Stomach poison.
I remember, I remember watching it. I know watching I had the flu in 2018. Yeah, it was around WrestleMania 34, and I remember laying there, and for some strange reason, this thought came: ain't no way Jordan could have played with this, And I look at it, and when we talk about COVID-19, a lot of people just think, oh, well, they'll be fine. No, you can't do that. At the end of the day, and like you said, this guy should be punished. He should be punished to the highest extent. And who knows? I mean, if Lamar Jackson's playing, is this a different game? Probably so. I got to give RG3 credit where credit is due. I know a lot of people's getting on him on Twitter, but he went out there and, he managed the game. Trace McSorley managed the game, and they did it without practice in over 10 days. That's another thing. Yeah, they are professional football players. They're professional athletes. Yeah, they can read. They can have all the Zoom meetings, but it's nothing like going out there and putting the hands to the football, putting the pads on, and actually practicing.
I definitely agree with that. And I'll say this one step further. When you were just talking about players getting COVID and then trying to come back. For instance, like Von Miller, we remember before he did get the injury early on in the season, Von Miller had COVID, and it was a Washington Post story that he was in where he said, and I quote, taking 17 days off and trying to get back into it, I really feel it. Then he said, I still feel my lungs trying to get back in shape. It's just all the wear and tear that puts on your lungs. I've got asthma on top of that. So try to run with asthma and then try to run after the coronavirus. I think that's where some of the shortness of breath comes from. Now, think about so many athletes that we know of that have asthma. Is a great chunk of guys. And then on top of that, what about the offensive and defensive linemen? They're big guys, and we've seen that bigger guys struggle with the coronavirus. And that concerns me. Like it truly concerns me what it might do. So, even if these guys come back, what are we expecting from them? Because we're talking about a good chunk of the team being out, and we've seen what coronavirus has done to other guys around other leagues too. Like, let's remember Eddie Rodriguez from the Red Sox, former Oriole prospect. He got it, and then he got myocarditis. So that kind of concerns me.
Excuse me. Yeah. Thank you. We look at going into the game. I saw your tweet. You said, shout out to your co-host jumping in. We saw the 70-yard pass to Marquise Brown. The soldier was activated today. I like the fact that we saw not only did he make the catch, but he made a few moves to get into the end zone. What was your thoughts when you saw him, when you saw the highlight? First of all, I like the tweet when you said, I'm not sure if that consists of a bomb.
Yeah, that was absolutely not a bomb. Trace McSorley, yes, he's an NFL quarterback, but he has an arm like Chad Pennington, and that's okay if you're accurate. And he got the ball to him accurately. Wasn't a bomb. It was a nice little comeback route, kind of, I guess. It was a 15. Yeah, like Vasilio said, it was a 15-yard pass that was like it was like a dying quail. We know those kind of, it's just like the MLB when you got an outfielder that has a noodle arm that tries to get it and back into the infield. That's what that kind of looked like. And Hollywood Brown made an amazing play. I think that was an outstanding play. You went 70 yards to the house. That's amazing. That's outstanding for him. Now, what Mike Patton said, shout out Mike. Mike was talking about how Steelers fans were still kind of upset, and they were like, well, the league is out to get them and stuff. Like, Steelers fans, I don't get it. Yeah, 11-0. You were 10-0 before this game. If you lost to a depleted Ravens team, you should be ashamed of yourselves. And why do you want to play a depleted Ravens team? The thing is, like, growing up a Ravens fan, you always want to see the Steelers at their best. You don't want to see the Steelers without Big Ben play. You don't want to see the Steelers play. Exactly. That wasn't as fun. Yeah, the Ravens played them tough. Or I guess the Steelers played them tough, but it's not the same when Ben isn't playing. It's not the same when, they don't have they have a bunch of O-linemen out. It's not the same when Hayward's not playing. It's not the same when let's say if Joe Hayden was out. It's just not the same when you got all those guys missing. It's not as fun. So when all these people talk about, the Ravens that tried to wait till they get all of their guys back. If they don't have Lamar Jackson, do you think they'll really truly be able to do anything with this team?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about that. That doesn't make sense.
One of the things that it bothered me, just a little COVID talk. I don't was it number 19 still very irritated me. He really irritated me.
It's he whined. I'm surprised because he's not that kind of guy off the field. But it was just like honestly, it was just like have some. It's a freaking pandemic. It's a virus that's killed over 200,000 people, and you guys are out here playing, and you don't have any sympathy for people that are going through this stuff. I don't want any of these players to get sick. Like all these people are like, well, you would be okay with the Steelers missing a couple of people. No, you wouldn't. You shouldn't be anyway. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like it's stupid. People are praying for a pandemic to hurt people, or some people are acting like that people are out to get them because the Ravens are sick. Like the Ravens actively said, hey, let's all get coronavirus, something that's killed all these people.
Exactly.
And it bothers me. Like it's sinister, to me. It's not just, it's like you guys are mismanaging so many things, but yet, and then on top of it all, you're gonna sit up here and say the Ravens tried to duck you guys. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. During a freaking global pandemic. Give me a break.
Exactly. And like I said, at the beginning, I said this a while ago, there was this sense of we were
that's also not true. I see what he's saying, but it's not true. Not anymore anyway. He had to get a new Vasilios had to get a new board. Once he got the board, I sounded 50 times better.
Oh,
that's
no
coincidence. Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna throw him under the bus. He's our producer. You're the one that's supposed to make the sound better. The audio is supposed to sound better because of you, Vasilio. So yes, it's your fault.
Yeah. Make sure y'all check out their podcast. We'll give a quick plug real quick before I make my next point.
Yep, my podcast is Mobtown Blitz, and you can follow us at Mobtown Pod on Twitter. So please give us a follow. Same thing on Facebook too. We're gonna make an Instagram page eventually, but everybody else is too lazy to do that. I have too much on my plate. So Vasilios, that's on you.
But
I don't record in my car, dude.
But the thing. Of course. The thing is, like I said before, there was this sense of we were all in this together, so it was never a blame game. So when I saw, like I said, number 19 and the rest of the Steelers doing that, it really irritated me. And unfortunately, one of their teammates got it. And, I wasn't like, well, that's what you get. I was like, maybe you should watch what you say, but I would never wish that on anybody. But, shout out to the Ravens. Do you think, before we get in, because we got to talk Wizards and this big blockbuster trade, do you think the Ravens can snap this 3-game win streak? Dallas comes into town next week. Can they snap the 3-game win streak and possibly win out? And if they do that, that would mean that there is some momentum and pieces are together. With that being said, can they make a run?
Can they make a run?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. Like, okay, I'll say this right now. They can get into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that with the NFL being the way that it is, you have 7 teams that can make it in each conference. I think that the Ravens will get in as, the 6th or 7th seed. Will they do anything when they get to the playoffs?
Well, if the 6th or 7th, that would leave them. If they're the 7th seed, that would leave them with Kansas City in the first round, as the playoffs stand today. If they're the 6th,
you're not going to win that game. If you're the 6th, okay, maybe I'll say this. Well, actually, if you're the 7th, wouldn't you get the Steelers though? Actually,
because they get the bye.
KC because that's right. Steelers get the bye. You're right. I forgot about that. If you get KC, you're going to get obliterated.
Possibly.
I think they get obliterated because I think right now it's a war of attrition on the Ravens. Like
Mm.
Marcus Peters is a little banged up. Jimmy Smith got hurt again. So now you're down to 2 cornerbacks. What if another guy gets hurt?
That's
And
true.
then you're in a Sharice Wright situation, where you got like the 8th string cornerback who
Mhm.
you found somebody training in Patterson Park and you picked them up to play on your football team. So I
I
think
mean,
that.
and go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying like that. That's the kind of thing that I'm worried about with this team. I just don't think that they could do much if you continue to have these injuries. So I think right now it's like a war of attrition, and if you have no guys left, what is the outcome usually?
Yeah, that's true, man. It's woo, yeah. That's all I can say. Um, I don't know. I think that I would like to believe that they lost their last game, but I think Cleveland will be tough as much as I don't want to believe in them. It is what it is. So I just think that, we I chalked this season up as a fan emotionally. I chalked the season up after the loss against the Patriots. And then just as they were starting to reel me back in with the Titans, then they gave it away. So I mean, Madden curse hit him hard. It hit him worse than any other team, and I don't care what anybody says about that. Yeah, Michael Vick was out for the whole season, but the Madden curse didn't just hit the Steelers. I mean, the Ravens quarterback or cover person, it hit the whole team. Let's get into this talk, man. Breaking news for those who do not know, I'm pretty sure everybody knows by now that my third favorite player in the NBA is on his way to the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., as the Washington Wizards, Kyle's Washington Wizards, have acquired the former league MVP, Russell Westbrook, for their franchise player, John Wall. But that's not it. Wait, there's more. They got a first round. They traded a first rounder. Kyle, your thoughts?
Don't like it, and I'll say that, and it's a caveat to this. I think if you were sitting in a situation where you were real with yourselves, and the Wizards, I don't think are real with themselves right now. They're like, okay, well, we want to make the team better immediately. If you want to do that, also go all the way in with Russell Westbrook. It is what it is. You're not going to win a championship with just Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. You're just not going to do it. So if you want to go off and get rid of 3-4 first round picks and get you like a big, if you want to go and grab a like a big that can kind of stretch the floor out, fine. That's like a top tier player. Give me a top 10 guy. They're not going to do that. So I think in this situation, you're putting a Band-Aid over a bullet wound. I do not think that this is going to solve anything. I don't think it's going to solve everything. I think that it's going to be a big problem eventually. I went on record at one point saying that I think, well, not on record, but I just got off of a phone call with one of my good friends, and I said that I think that Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook get into a fist fight by the 3rd week of the season. Because I do not think this is going to work.
Hold up. Look, I know we talking sports, but or wrestling, Sting just showed up on AEW.
Oh, dang.
I'm like,
how old is Sting now?
He in his 50s,
60,
probably
right? Close to 60.
Yeah. So the title of the show is called Winter is Coming. And he showed up on the 9 o'clock hour, and I was it caught me off guard. I didn't think, I'm like, Sting, but yeah, man. I actually like this move. Wall clearly wasn't happy there. I think Russell Westbrook is one of the most misunderstood players in the league. It's ironic that in 2014-ish, no, we'll say 16, 2016-ish, when we were approaching free agency, Wizards fans would have loved to have a player from the Oklahoma City Thunder, a former MVP player from the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that being Kevin Durant. Instead, they got Russell Westbrook. Who would have thought that? But he's reunited with Scott Brooks. I think him and Bradley Beal will get along. I think they'll find a way. Russ can, be the ball handler, but he got a deadly shooter. And like I said, he's averaged a triple-double before, so he's gotten his assist, but I do agree you got to get some other pieces in there in the play. So
yeah, this is not it. Like you can't just have two guys, two superstars. We've seen, I think with the Wizards, you need to go all in. If you're gonna do this, fine, but you got to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get a third star, I think that the Wizards, they have no appeal right now. If you go get a third star, you immediately could become a contender in the East. I think that you got a bunch of young guys. You got your first round pick that you just brought in, Deni Avdija. You got Rui Hachimura. So those are two guys that, you could flip for. You could probably flip them along with, a first round pick or so to get, that big name guy. Now, will they do that? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also a good question. I see Sean asked if how long does Harden stay in Houston? What do you think, Brian?
I don't know. I'm confused because it's hard to see. I got to see them trying to make this work. I got to see. I think they would. I think they're going to try to see what they can do with those two. Let's be real. John Wall's never had a guy like James Harden on the team, but James Harden also wants to have the ball in his hand. So I want to see how this works first before they start making trades. I know at one point people was talking about trading him for Kyrie. I'm like, no, I want to see Kyrie and KD play together. So I want to see how this works. But maybe. I think maybe to the trade deadline, but I do think they'll find out. They'll try to see what they got. And if, they probably told Harden, look, this is what we're going to do. Can you just be patient with us? You know what I mean? Be patient and let's see what happens. Boogie Cousins is down there. Boogie and John Wall reunited. Now, that also makes you wonder, so will Harden be kind of on the left out or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think if you get if you could get Boogie playing to not an all-star rate, because I don't think with that Achilles injury, if I'm not mistaken, he tore his knee up too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got a big dude that is coming off of all those injuries and those surgeries. I think they're gonna have to get another guy to run with them. I think Houston, they have it's interesting to see what they'll do. I think John Wall changes up the pace, but we'll see what happens with John Wall being as is he healthy? So you got two guys that are question marks injury wise. So we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, before we get out of here, I just remembered. Did you get a chance to read the piece in The Athletic that came out today?
Yeah, about the Clippers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would, man. That's not good. They catered to their superstars completely. They were just like, and I don't understand. Like, it was so funny what they said about Paul George, though. They were like, you haven't done it. You haven't won anything.
Well, even remember when the press conference when they was like, they call him Playoff P, and Melo and Westbrook kind of look like, who called them that? You know what I mean?
Somebody called him Pandemic P.
Right.
I was like, dang.
But looking at it, I was reading it, and obviously me being a Lakers fan, I loved every bit of this. But just especially being here in Baltimore, in order to win a championship, you just can't do it on talent alone. All the pieces, and I heard them say this on All Smoke, all the pieces gotta fall into place together, right? If you look at that Ravens 2012 team, the left tackle gets hurt. allows Brian McKinney to come in there. All of a sudden, the offensive line looks totally different than it did during that last stretch. Cam Cameron gets fired. Caldwell takes over. Like, everything looked different. You look at that playoff team, it looked way different than it did during the regular season. And
exactly.
So there you look at this Clippers team, and people kept saying, "Oh, they're gonna beat the Lakers. They're gonna beat the Lakers."
Well, no, I was just saying. Well, I think the reason why I think they were saying that was because they were looking at the Clippers and they were like, "Dang, their bench is really good."
Yeah,
I didn't look at the Clippers. I wasn't like, okay, wow, they have Kawhi and Paul George. Like, that's great. Don't get me wrong; those are two of some of the better players in the league. Like, Kawhi's a top 3 guy. When he's at his best, and then Paul George, when he's at his best during the regular season, at least he's a top 15 guy. So I mean, but during the playoffs, the Reggie Miller, he starts choking during the playoffs, and I do feel for Paul George to an extent because of what he said about like his mental health in terms of dealing with what was going on in the bubble. But like, outside of, I mean, even prior to him being in a bubble, he wasn't great in the playoffs. So it's like,
I think Paul George. I love Paul George in Indiana. I loved what they did, but we saw that team crumble. And I heard there was talks about, I think him and Roy Hibbert maybe having a personal issue. Not sure how true that is. But we saw them go from this team, we only doing interviews together. They had that cohesiveness in the beginning of 2013-2014 season, and they fell apart, almost losing the number 1 seed. And it seemed like their only focus was to beat Miami, and they got there and lost. But, so then you're looking at it. Then the next year, unfortunately, Paul George has that crucial injury, comes back, but it's a whole different team. But I'm looking at him like, this dude is not the same. And I'm like, maybe me personally, I was fooled. I was ready, like, as a fan, to put him like the way I've like. So, like, my favorite players have been Kobe, Melo, LeBron for obvious reasons now, and Westbrook. I was going to put him there, amongst like my favorite players, especially I like the way his game is. But I'm like, wait, dude really don't win in the playoffs. Melo never had consistency in New York. Westbrook and Durant, I thought they did well together. Obviously, we saw what happened, but I was really rooting for Paul George. But then, like, when I read this, I'm like, all right, y'all really, bent over backwards for Kawhi Leonard. However, the issue with that is you did that for a guy who's not that great of a leader. You know what I mean? Because what kind of leader is going to say, not even going to say what kind of, but, you never hear him really like bringing the team together. And reading that just kind of proved a lot of things I thought just from watching. And, I was always told, oh, you're just a hater of the Clippers. I'm like, no, I don't think their chemistry would get together and bring them together to beat the Lakers. And it didn't. I mean, they was up 3-1. You got to be a special type of bad to lose 3-1. I want to give a quick shout out to Vasilios for becoming a new sponsor for the show. I really appreciate that. Thank you. But man,
it's great.
You got to be a special type of bad to, or a certain type of chaos to drop a 3-1 lead. We saw that at OKC.
We know all too well. We've seen 3-1 leads fall by the wayside way too many times.
Yeah, I mean, just look at it, right? It's either a team just gets really hot, something bad happens, and the Warriors, I would say, it was surprising because they were a cohesive unit, but it was to me that was more the strategy with LeBron James getting Draymond's head, win this game, then he's going to be suspended. You know what I mean? But then you also look at, like, let's go back to baseball, 2004, the Yankees. It's surprising, but then again, it's really not. I mean, they had Alex Rodriguez on the team. We know what type of person he can be. So, GM Money Man says Westbrook wanted to reunite with Scott Brooks. That's what I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see that because I do think that the Thunder kind of got rid of Scott Brooks in hoping they could keep Durant. You know, that year when they got rid of him, I felt like they did that just hoping, all right, if we get rid of Brooks, maybe we can keep Durant, you know, and I remember when Scott Brooks got to DC, John Wall was excited because he said that it was things he could do with him and help him go to take his game to the next level. Unfortunately, we didn't see that.
And he never did. And I think one thing that Scott Brooks has shown me over the 10 years that he's been here, or I guess that he's been in DC, not in here because I'm, you know, Baltimore. But, you know, Scott Brooks doesn't know how to manage a bench. He doesn't know how to keep his star players fresh. I don't think he runs them into the ground like Tom Thibodeau. I think Tom Thibodeau tries to blow guys' ACLs out. But when it turns, but when it turns, you know, in terms of like, I look at guys like, you know, I look at Scott Brooks and I'm like, dang, you know, are you really getting the best out of your stars, or was it just that you were handed Russell Westbrook and handed KD, and you had Harden? Like, are you that good of a coach, or did you just have all those superstars on your team?
I mean, when you have two like top 10 players in the league, right? At that time, you gotta look like you could have made an argument. Obviously, Kevin Durant 1 or 2 or 3, right? But you could have made an argument that Westbrook was a top 10. And everybody might not
James
agree.
Harden was coming off the bench. People forget about James Harden when he was a sixth man. James Harden
and the talent was there.
As a sixth man. He was way better. Like, he was way better than Manu Ginobili coming off the bench. That's crazy. Like that is like, imagine now, like James Harden wasn't what he is now, but James Harden was nasty coming off he was averaging like 24, 25 points coming off the bench, if I'm not mistaken. We could go back and look this up, but like James Harden coming off the bench was nasty. And then you had those guys. It just it blows my mind that the Thunder had all those guys and couldn't get it done. And didn't try to keep them together. They were like, well, we only could keep 2. And then eventually it was like, all right, who are we going to keep out of these guys? And I'm just like, to me, I'm saying stick to your core, those 3. And then you decided, okay, well, we got too many ball dominant guys. Let's let Harden go. And then let's keep Ibaka. And I'm like, in today's NBA, like, and I know we were thinking about it in terms of like 2011, 2012 NBA. Back then, you're like, okay, yeah, maybe you do that because you need a big
finals with that team. You got to the finals. It still drives me crazy, but yeah, man. But I'm getting ready to get out of here, bro. Really appreciate you coming on. Let the people know where they can find you.
You can follow me at Kyle J Andrews _ on Twitter, and same thing on Instagram. And then on when it comes to my podcast, like I said, I plugged it earlier, Mobtown Blitz. You can follow us at Mobtown Pod on Twitter.
Yeah. Y'all know me, Brian H. Waters. Make sure you download the HAPS app if you haven't done so you can hop on here the same way Kyle did his second appearance on the show. So, you know, I'm always grateful to have my brother on here to talk sports. Make sure y'all follow me on all social media platforms at Brian H. Waters and at Wrestling Realm. AEW is about to have their main event, world title on the line. Kenny Omega taking on Jon Moxley. So I got to go. Y'all take it easy.
All right, everybody.